Blog Talk Radio.
It's Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Once again, it's time for the most intriguing talk radio on the internet today. This is Sasquatch Watch Radio. Breaking news and information from around the world. Interviews with men and women investigating the mystery. The latest high-tech equipment. Cutting-edge research techniques. And amazing discoveries. Real-life people sharing real-life encounters. The director and founder of Sasquatch Watch Virginia, here is your host, Billy Willard. Something is out there in the dark, watching, waiting. It's time to unleash the beast. This is Sasquatch Watch Radio.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. As soon as I make my cell phone stop ringing, goodness sakes alive. Busy. Welcome everybody. Today is Monday, November 16th, 2009. And I'd like to welcome my great co-host, Mr. Mike Killen. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Hey, Billy. Okay, I guess. I finally.
Yeah, we've been having been having loads of trouble here for some reason today.
Yeah.
I know you're having problems.
Yeah, I finally made it into chat on like the fourth try, but I had to log in under my my Long Island Yeti handle. I cannot get in as a co-host tonight. Won't take it. So
that is so weird. Yeah. And then when I called in, like I told you, when I called in, it gave me a message saying that Blog Talk Radio is having technical difficulties. You may have to call back later. I was like, oh, great.
Yeah, just what you want to hear, right?
Yeah, that was just what I needed to hear. So, And I'm wondering if everybody else is having trouble, too. Do you see how many guests we have in the chat?
I do. There's, 10, 12
There's
guests?
A bunch.
Looks like. Yeah, there's a whole bunch.
There's a lot. So I think there must be some problems tonight with people logging in. So, folks, I apologize, but it's kind of out of our control. Blog Talk must either made some changes or whenever they make a change, it always seems to be the worst for us. So I don't know what's going on. I noticed that the popular show tab was malfunctioning Sunday night when I was checking on it, because I always check on our positioning and everything, and it wasn't working properly. So I think they're having some problems. I know, Henry. I know.
It's
one of them things. What do you do?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about when you're saying that the popular feature, like when you look at all the shows listed in a category. I was on the other night myself, and normally when you select the popular category and then you choose paranormal and you open that up, there's usually like between 250 and 300 shows there. It's like 258 or 268. It only listed It only listed 18 shows. That's
exactly what I saw. Yeah, and I was like, what is going on?
yeah, and it's over 250 every other time. Yeah, I saw the exact same thing you did. I said, well, some kind of problem here, because it was only 2 pages of shows. Normally that thing goes like 30 pages deep.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew there was an issue last night, but
yeah.
Oh well, they'll work through it like they always do.
Yeah. What
and
can
so
you do?
will we. Yep. Well, I've got a couple announcements I'd like to make at the get-go of the show. First of all, for anyone who knows Craig Woolheater of the Texas Bigfoot Conservancy down there in Texas, great fella. His mother passed away Sunday morning, and just would like to, Craig and Marcy, if you are listening, please accept our condolences and sorry for your loss. If you need anything, certainly you know how to get in touch with us. So sorry to hear about that, but prayers will be out to you, Craig and Marcy. So
yeah, that's bad news. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to mention for anyone who knows Linda Wilkinson, who is also known as Dr. Onion. She's one of the Sergeant of Arms directors over at the Alliance of Independent Bigfoot Researchers, the AIBR. My understanding is that she was not too long ago rushed to the emergency room. Believe she has like flu-like symptoms. I'm hoping it's not what we may think it is. So hope for her speedy recovery and hope that she feels better soon as well. So Linda, we love you and prayers are to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and invite our guest in here for tonight. Our guest, his name is Dave. He lives in the Central Virginia area, and that's typically his research area as well, is in the central part of Virginia. And we'll get him on the show right now. How you doing tonight, Dave?
I'm doing fine, Billy. Can everyone hear me? Is the connection made?
Oh, we can hear you loud and clear.
Is it all right to be a little bit nervous?
Nope, nothing wrong with being a little nervous. This is the first time you've been on a radio show, so I would expect a little bit of that. But don't worry, because none of us bite.
Yeah.
At least I don't. Now, I don't know about Mike killing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, out in the woods, you're nervous about something that might bite.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I'll introduce you, Dave, to Mike Killen, my co-host.
How you doing, Mike?
All right, Dave. How are you?
Really good.
Good to have you on the show with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Now, Dave, do you want to tell everyone who you are in the chat, just so that they know who we're speaking with?
Well, I want to say that I don't want to give my full name. We kind of discussed this before, Billy, and my actual location, at least not at this time. Maybe down the road I'll come forward with more information. But I'm also the Kingdom Keys on the. That's an old code finder, code breaker handle. Another one of my passions. But I tried to use Dave as a username, but it wouldn't take it, so I threw that in as my handle. So I'm in the chat room as the Kingdom Keys.
All right, well, that's good to know. That way, everyone knows who we're talking about, and I'm sure there's been a few that have texted you in the chat, in the past shows you've been in.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dave, tell us a little bit about what really, everybody loves to hear this. What got you interested in this mystery?
Well, actually, what got me interested in it was my auto mechanic.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I knew he was an avid hunter, and he goes out in the woods and fields, and he descents himself, and goes out there with full armor and gear. And I used to hear some of his hunting stories. At one time, I caught a story that he was talking about the creature, and I think he said, I have it written down somewhere, but I think he said it was in the year 2004, and it was in December time, and there was a little bit of snow on the ground, which is pretty unusual for Central Virginia. Some years we don't get any at all, and usually the snow falls in January, February, and maybe early March. Right. But it was in December, and there was a little bit of snow on the ground. He was out close to his house, and he noticed some big tracks in the snow. And they may have been distorted a little bit. I don't know how fresh they were. But immediately he thought it was a bear, black bear, which are common in our area. But he started following the tracks, and he noticed that the tracks were basically one in front of the other, rather than side to side like a bear walks. Mm-hmm. And that made him think, and he had some of his children with him and a few other people, and as he started following the tracks, he started to realize that he might be following something that is Bigfoot, not a bear. And he got nervous about it, and he ended up leaving and taking his kids home, and he looks back at it now today in hindsight and wishes that he would have followed the tracks to see how far it would take him. But one thing he told me about the tracks was that they were spaced quite a distance apart between each other, and they were, bipedal, one in front of the other, and they even went up on a slight upslope, like a mountain grade, which is pretty unusual, for people to do something like that. And the prints were much bigger than people prints and wider, and there wasn't any tread. And he believes that because of the length of the stride and the fact that they went up the hillside like that it had to be Bigfoot. Since then, he had done a lot of going out in the woods and heard some wood knocks and some callings and different things. And after he told me all that, he got my interest started. For years, I was interested in Bigfoot and other phenomenon, but I never really realized that they were in this area until I talked to him, and then I started going on my own search.
Yeah, it is kind of odd, because we all think about Bigfoot, being over in the Pacific Northwest along the and everything, and I think for the most part that's what a lot of people think. But there's been quite a few. Even if anyone has checked out the just lately, John Green, his database. I don't know how many people know this, but his database is now available online. John Green, and he's got hundreds of data that he's collected over all the years he did it, and he's got some there in Virginia, quite a few in Virginia, that he researched. So, it's hey, they're not just over on the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest and Canada. These things apparently are all over the U.S. So. That's interesting. Guess what, Dave? We already have phone callers.
We already have callers.
We already have callers. So
I didn't say anything yet.
Well, I could be wrong. They might just be listening to the show if they can't log in, but we'll check anyway, and if they're just listening, we can mute them back out. So let me...
All right.
The first one I'll get here is area code 404. You're on the air here.
Good. Me?
Yep, that's you. Who are we speaking with? 404.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just calling to listen in.
Oh, okay. We'll put you right back on mute. Thanks a lot. No problem. All right, we'll put that one on mute as soon as my button starts working. There we go. And we have a Skype caller. You're on the air.
Oh, hey, Billy, Mike, it's elusive one. Just called to listen in.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just called to listen in and show my support for you guys, and interested in hearing Dave's tale.
All right, we'll put you on mute. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks. Yep, bye-bye.
Something's weird going on. I have to click it 2 times to get it to work. So, yeah, some weird stuff going on tonight. All right, Dave. Well, I guess what we'll do is, are you ready? Do you have some audio queued up and ready that you want to start with, or do you have some more things you'd like to discuss prior to getting into that?
I've got quite a few things queued up. I had to take my speakers off my my desktop PC and put them on my laptop because I did some experiments earlier, and the audio coming out of it, I don't think it was loud enough to really hear it across the phone. I'm hoping that with these external speakers, it'll be enough. But yeah, go ahead.
I just want to explain to people why we're doing it this way. Dave has all of his recordings on a program that I cannot upload to the switchboard. So we made the decision that this was the only way we were going to be able to do it because it's not in an audio form that I can upload. So anyway, that's the reason we're doing it this way.
Yeah, and I've got some on my laptop, and quite a few on the laptop, and quite a few on the camera that I take out in the fields and woods with me. Let me give you a little background. I live in Central Virginia, and I'd like to think that I live in one of the hotspot areas of Central Virginia. My own yard, I live in wooded location where black bears have been sighted from time to time. We even had some black bear sightings in the area in our development in the last month. I have a spring-fed pond in the backyard, which runs, the overflow of that runs into a stream that continues along until it reaches a small lake. And then across the street from my house, there's another stream which feeds directly into one of the main rivers here in Central Virginia. Mm-hmm. Less than a mile from my house, down the street, there's a high-voltage power line cut that goes directly to the river. So there, you could see that there's quite a few avenues for a Bigfoot-type creature, if he's living in this area, to come in my region, in my area. And I'm not too far from a lot of places where sightings and sounds have been supposedly heard and recorded before in the past. So right. I take a lot of commutes. I do a lot of, I'm kind of a rookie in one sense that I've only been doing this for 2.5 years, but in my defense, I go out a lot. I'd like to say that I have probably thousands of field and woods hours experience, if you include driving time. Right. Or sitting in my truck. Sometimes I go to locations and I sit in the truck with the windows down, listening for sounds. When I hear something, then I go out. Other times right. I'm out, walking in the fields and woods, daytime and nighttime. I'm semi-retired, so I have a lot of time on my hands, and I probably spend way too much time out there, more than I should. But I've collected some data. I keep a daily log, a journal, on the computer, and a Word document of times and events. And then I do a lot of recordings of sounds while I'm walking on the trails. Right. Let's see, what else? One of the other passions I have is UFO hunting, and there's a lot of people believe that Central Virginia is another hot spot for UFOs, so I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone when I go out.
Right. That's cool.
I don't take a gun with me. I use a flashlight, but I only turn the flashlights on when I need to see, or in cases of an emergency or something like that. But otherwise, I walk without a gun and without lights. I've got a camera on a tripod, and the camera that I use is a Sony infrared Handycam DCR SR45, and it's got an internal 30 gigabyte hard drive on it where I store the information. Then I transfer that to a computer from time to time. Let me say a couple more things before we get started here.
Okay.
I have, if it's all right, I have many times heard wood knockings, bird howls, cow mooings, dog barkings, owls hooting, and trees falling down at the same time. And when I hear all these things happening at the same time, I'm pretty well convinced that I'm in the land of Bigfoot. That's happened to me many times while I'm out there.
Right.
And one of those events by themselves, in my opinion, is pretty meaningless, but when you hear all of them or many of them together, then you start putting things two and two together and say, hey, there might be something to this. Bigfoot might be in the area. And there have been a lot of sightings, a lot of other people claiming they've heard the creature in the areas that I go. I go to known hotspots. And then I do concentric circles from those known hotspots and expand out, because I believe that the creatures roam a little bit. And and I find new areas, and I usually take trails, but I've also gone directly through the woods from one spot to another spot, and seeing if I could attract anything while doing that. I've been lost in the woods a few times.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling when that does happen. Let's see, what else can I say? I'm looking at some of the notes I got written down here in front of me. A lot of times I hear these sounds. Owls will hoot, and then the dogs will bark. And to me, I'm relying on a lot of your listening audience too, I know you got hunters that listen, but I don't believe that dogs would bark at owls. But some of these other noises that I hear back there sets off the owls. This is what I believe happens. And then and the dogs are also barking at the noises that set off the owls. And some of the recordings I have, you'll hear that. You'll hear the sounds that I'm claiming might very well be Bigfoot, along with owls in the background that are hooting at the same time.
Right.
I'm not sure how the next 90 minutes is going to go, but I can tell you, pretty much guarantee one thing, that I'm going to be talking about some controversial subject matter here, and maybe state some things that the viewers have never heard before, and some of the claims that I'm making might sound a little bit outrageous, but one of four things is possible. Either I'm telling the truth and I'm not a deceitful person, which I'm here to say that's the case, or there's another possibility that I'm lying, deceitful, and I'm a hoaxer.
Right.
A third possibility is that I'm deceived and fooled by what I hear, Mother Nature, noises out, animal sounds that I'm claiming is Bigfoot, but in reality it's something else. Or I'm also fooled by hoaxers that are out there trying to fool me, but usually where I go, there aren't a lot of people.
Right.
And then the fourth possibility is a combination of the above three. Maybe some of the things that I'm hearing are really what I claim they are, and other ones are animals in the wild that aren't Bigfoot, and some of the wood knockings might be, woodpeckers, whatever, So anyway, I'm going to make some claims tonight, if that's all right, Billy, and let your audience decide for themselves what they think, and take it from there, I guess.
Sounds good to me. Now, before we get into your audio, I think Mike is probably standing by with some questions that have already rolled through the chat room, so
all
we'll
right.
get those out of the way.
Okay.
Yep, we definitely had a few. So let me... I stopped my scroll. Let me go back up, and we'll start at the top. Yeah, we had a couple here. We had one here from Boardhead, I guess is how you pronounce it. Bordhed is the name in the chat. The question is, any sightings near Lynchburg?
To be honest with you, I haven't been I haven't done any research in the Lynchburg area.
All right.
The region that I've been in is in Richmond area and Fredericksburg area and in between. And I've done a little bit in Northern Virginia.
All right.
Then let's see, where's the other one? We had a couple here. I'm just going to scroll down a bit. So much chit-chat in the chat between all the users. Okay. Then we have another question here from Kimball, who asks, he says, is our guest near Troutville?
I'm sorry, what was the town?
Troutville, Troutville.
I haven't even heard of that town. But keeping my code of secrecy, even if that were my town, I wouldn't admit it. I'm not going to reveal any more information other than I'm in the Richmond, Fredericksburg area, at least for tonight.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'm just, whatever you want to answer is up to you. I'm just
that's fine. No.
As they're posed verbatim, and
throw them at me.
That's it, and you take them as you want them, and you answer what you want to answer, and don't answer what you don't want to. I'm just reading as they're written.
Sounds good, Mike.
And we got from our friend Bill Green. Never guess what he's asking, Billy. Can you guess?
I don't. No, I probably couldn't.
Bill would like to know if you're investigating any recent sightings, footprints, or possible videos, photos.
I have found 3 footprints in my 2.5 years, and I have to admit that all 3 of them are questionable. But I had something interesting happen to me on the 3rd one that I found while I was casting it and taking it out of the ground. What I heard And I haven't even discussed the fact that of some of the claims I'm going to make, but I'll make one right now, that there's two different types of, in my opinion, wood knockings that the creature does. One is a long-distance knock where he takes a stick of some sort and wraps it against a tree. And then the other one is when the creatures, and I don't know if any of your viewers have heard this before, but I've heard it out there more than one time out there, several times, where they take wood and wrap it against each other like two sticks together. And it's like a rhythmic beat to it, almost as if it's intelligent data that's being streamed across. The time I was out there casting my third Bigfoot cast, questionable cast, I heard what sounded like wood knockings, but stick to stick, like I'm describing. And then I was thinking, well, maybe it's a woodpecker. And, a lot of thoughts are going through my mind. But then I heard a second one a little bit further down the woods, trying to communicate to the first one. And then across the clearing, I heard a third one. I heard three of them together. And if I could, Billy and Mike, if I could put the phone down for a second, I have a couple sticks here. I want to demonstrate what it sounded like. Could I do that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I don't know how that came across, but something on that line.
All right, I heard it.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard it just fine. So basically, if what you heard is very similar to that, it sounded to me almost like a Morse code.
Yeah, that's how I described it in one of my journal write-ups. And if it were just a short distance communications between the creatures, telling each other, hey, I'm here, and I'm here, why wouldn't it be a steady beat, more like, just a steady tap? But that's not what I heard. Every time I hear this, I hear it as, short tones and long tones. And so to me, it almost sounds like they're trying to, relay a message across it, not just say, this is where I'm located.
Right.
And at the time that I was doing that Bigfoot casting there, I heard those three talking. I said, wait a minute, these aren't woodpeckers. There's three of them. Woodpeckers don't talk to each other. I got a stick out and I started beating it against a tree because I couldn't find a second stick, and trying to imitate the sounds that I was hearing from them, and everything got quiet, and that was the end of it. But I think that was only part of the question. They wanted to know if I ever found any Bigfoot prints, and if I got any recordings, I think. Was the other part on that, Mike?
Yeah, well, that's our friend Bill Green. That's his standard question he asks all the guests pretty much. Wants to know if there's anything recent that you've been involved in, investigation-wise, and if you found any evidence, basically.
Well, this is going to sound strange, but my claim is that more often than not, I hear either wood knockings or vocalizations of one type or another, and I go out frequently. Another one of my claims is that they're back here in my backyard, that in the woods in the area that I live in. I'm not saying that they're here daily, but several times a year, I believe. And in the month of end of September, early October time frame, I think we had quite a few visits. I don't know that for a fact. I can't prove it, but I believe that. So, yeah, I've got some evidence that I'd like to share with everyone.
All right. Is that all the questions, Mike, for now?
That's all that I saw, yep.
Okay.
Well, Billy,
all right, I think we're ready.
Can I want to make a couple claims here that I want to try to back up somewhat.
Okay.
The first claim that I want to make, and again, this is what I believe to be the truth. I might be wrong. This is what I believe to be happening. I have been in the midst of Bigfoot on countless occasions, and I believe that this is going to sound strange, that they know my personal scent and possibly know the look of my truck, because I'm limited with where I can park the truck. So when I go on these outings, I have certain places where I park it, and I believe they've seen the truck. Another claim that I'll make here is that I believe that I've exchanged wood knockings with Bigfoot on quite a few occasions. I've got several of them, recordings of them as well. Another claim is that I believe that Bigfoot typically sounds, this is going to sound strange to some of your listeners, I'm sure, more like birds and or women talking and screaming, and somewhat like a monkey sound, more than it does like the stereotypical Bigfoot gorilla monster sound that you hear in the movies.
Right.
But I having said that, I have heard some low-pitched growl and howls that sounded like an alpha male type of sound, but more often than not, I hear whoops and yelps and noises that sound more like a cross between a bird, a monkey, or a Tasmanian devil.
Right.
Let's see. What else can I say here? When Bigfoot vocalizes, I've noticed more often than not, probably 90% of the time, when I hear what I think is a Bigfoot vocalization of some sort, the forest gets quiet.
Right.
I hear the crickets stop, the frogs stop, any birds stop, things like that. I hear the forest gets quiet.
Right.
All right. Here's another claim I'm going to make, and this one, I know some of your listeners will probably agree with me, but a lot of them might think that this is ridiculous. But I believe that Bigfoot communicates in a language, just like people communicate in a language. And I've heard this language several times. And actually, the first time I heard it, I thought it was teenage girls talking to each other. And then I continued walking on my journeys, came back to the same location a few hours later, and it was still going on. And this was on a Sunday night. School, the next day, they shouldn't have been out there at 9:30 and 12:30 in the morning. And it was out in the middle of the boonies, where there weren't any cars, there weren't any people. And the way I would describe the language that I've heard, Billy, Mike, to your listeners would be, to me it sounds like a language that has a lot of long vowel sounds, like oohs and ahs. I'm even willing to make a fool of myself and actually do it on the air if you'd like to hear because the recordings I have of it are very weak and hard to hear, but I can give a pretty good description of what it sounds like if you want me to go at it.
You do whatever you would like to do, Dave.
All right, I want to see if I can hear some of your listeners laughing after I throw this out there.
Okay.
It goes kind of like this. But more of a female tone than mine, and my tone is kind of a high tone for a man anyway, but it's more of a female sound. But on that line is what I hear, and it's an eerie sound when you're at a distance. It sounds like, to me, it sounds like a human language, and you get closer, and then you, wait a minute, this isn't human, And again, if it weren't a language, then why would there be so many variations in tone and sound if they weren't trying to communicate something?
Right.
And we do know this. We do know that the primates in the forest, they make different types of whoops and yelps and noises and high-pitched frequencies when they're alarmed or when they're trying to tell their monkey friends that, hey, I'm in a tree and it's got fruit in this tree. Come over here.
Right.
So if these are some type of primates, it wouldn't be unusual that they can communicate. And if their intelligence level is closer to man's than to a chimpanzee, you would think it would stand to reason they would have a pretty advanced language.
Right.
All right. Here's another. Let's see. I'm almost ready to do some of these recordings, but I got a couple more things I want to throw out there, and there might be some more questions too. Let's see what we got here. I believe that Bigfoot, from my experiences out there, that Bigfoot imitates the calls of other animals, and I'm beginning to believe this more and more all the time. That think of it, if human beings have an octave range of, on average 1 or 1.5 octaves, maybe an opera singer might have a 3 or 4 octave range, but if these creatures have an octave range of 7 or 8, and the intelligence near the level of humans, then why couldn't they duplicate the sounds of other animals and imitate them and be smart enough to imitate them? Other animals, look at the mockingbird, it imitates other birds, so I don't think that this is too outrageous to say that this thing can't imitate other animals and does it. And it could use that to its advantage too, Billy and Mike, because if it were able to imitate a deer, and that would be possibly one of its primary food sources, it could, lure one into a trap, with another Bigfoot and catch it by imitating the sounds of deer sounds. Okay, next, there's an area that I've gone to on many occasions in the dead of winter even. It's a bamboo grove, and I have found bamboo broken at 12, 10, 15-foot levels, and then gone back the next day and found it ripped out of the ground completely or chewed to the ground. I believe that these things like bamboo and eat bamboo. And we know the gorillas eat bamboo. So again, this, I'm not reaching too far to say that they eat bamboo. That could be a possibility. And another thing I've noticed is, in my opinion, Bigfoot doesn't always smell, even though we were told that it always stinks and it smells like, a skunk or a burnt type of, sulfur smell or something. I have smelled that type of a smell on several occasions, but more often than not, when I think I'm in the presence of Bigfoot, I don't smell anything at all.
Right.
Here's another one I want to throw out. I'm probably stirring up some questions already. People mark their trails with fluorescent tape and ribbons, yellow, orange, pink, what have you, so they won't get lost. I believe that Bigfoot marks its trails with branches and trees. It's pretty, from what I've seen, that what I believe to be Bigfoot evidence, I believe they pull down a lot of trees and a lot of branches, and they're pretty destructive. And the areas that they're frequenting, you can see that in the forest. And more often than not, I believe that they pull them down right on top of trails where people take their four-wheelers. And I'm going to throw a question out there to your listeners. You guys that think that you might be in the area of Bigfoot, and if you have four-wheel vehicles and you're going through the trails a lot, do you have to go back there on numerous occasions with a chainsaw to cut up trees that have come across the trail, like something's trying to keep you from going through there? Because I feel that I've noticed that on many of the trails that I've been on. There was one time in the early stages when I was out there, I actually walked a trail down to the river, and then on the way back, I came up, and it was a rainy day when I was out there. There was a cedar tree that was about 30 feet long, and it was broken right down across the path, and I had to walk around it when it wasn't there when I went down. And there was no wind that day, so, and cedar tree, and it was a standing tree. It wasn't shaded by other trees, which would have weakened it. I mean, it had to withstand the wind on its own, and something broke it at the base, and I took pictures of it, but I didn't find any prints in the area. It was pretty compacted, rocky clay soil, and even in the rain, I wasn't really leaving any prints in that region. But something, or was it nature, or was it the creature itself that brought the thing down? I've had experiences like that. Here's another one I want to throw out at you. I believe that some of the really nice castings that have been made of Bigfoot prints out west, I don't think we have any on the East Coast that compare, because there's just so many of them that have been found out there over the years. They have found that on the underside of the foot, what do you call that? On a hand, that would be the palm. I don't know what that's called on a
You talking about are you talking about that mid-tarsal break?
Yeah, the fold, the mid-tarsal break on the underside of the foot. What does that indicate? I think Billy knows where I'm going with this. If you take the palm of your hand and you fold it in, you'll see that your hand bends at a fold, that mid-tarsal break. But on people, we don't have that on our feet. But primates, other primates, they do. They have that fold on there, and they're able to climb trees and grip branches with not only their hands but their feet. And I believe that Bigfoot can do this, that he has a prehensile design feet, that are able to curve and hang on to branches and climb trees. And on one occasion, I actually heard monkey sounds. I have this one on queued up to play for you tonight if we have time, where I'm hearing Bigfoot monkey type sounds up in a tree or trees out in the woods.
Well, we can hear it whenever you're ready.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go over to my. Do we have any questions, or do we want to go right into the?
Was there any more questions, Mike?
No, I see lots of humorous comments.
I told you I was going to stir things up tonight.
No. Majority of these are the chat users just kind of throwing one-liners back and forth as they do every week. But it's always a free for all in the chats. But a lot of it's very funny. But no, I did not see any questions aimed at the guest.
Okay, I'm going to start with, if it's all right with you guys, one that I heard on the date was November 7th, 8th. It was basically right before midnight, right after midnight. And I'm going to set the scene for you. There was, I've been out in the woods many times during hunting season in the winter time, in the fall, and at nighttime I occasionally run into some hunters. Typically they're not out after deer at night, but they're after raccoons. Coon hunting. Right. And again, I want to throw this out to the listeners. If there's any hunters out there, Billy, I know you know a little bit about that kind of stuff. How the coon hunters normally go out and do their thing out there in the woods, I would think, and I'm just speculating, but tell me if I'm wrong, that they usually would go out in maybe teams of 2 or so, because, if they're going to hunt down a coon can only go so far. I don't know if they're going to eat it or if they're going to take the fur and use, or the what do they call that, the felt or the skin and make something out of it. But you can only do so much with one coon, and you probably typically wouldn't find more than one at a time. Well, I've seen a lot of that out there where there's 1 or 2 guys out there with flashlights walking the trails, and I always hate to see it because whenever I see a flashlight, I think, oh no, if there's any Bigfoot in the area, they're going to scare them off. But and then I talk to them, and they say, yeah, we're going out, looking for we're doing some coon hunting, and we got their beagles or their foxhounds, and they're out there looking. But this night, on November 7th and 8th, there was a group of at least 6 guys, and I'm kind of hesitant to tell the story because of the fact that they very well could be listening in, because I don't believe they were looking for coons that night. I think these guys were out looking for the creature, and they kind of knew what they were doing, and they're using their dogs to track it. And I was hearing and I know there was at least 6 of them, because there was one point in time I was on a ridge looking down at them, and most of the time they were running around with their dogs with no lights on in the fields in between the woods. But this one time I caught them and they had several of the lights on, and I counted at least 6 guys. And they had high-powered rifles, and I captured their gunshots on recording as well. And so anyway, I'm out there looking for Bigfoot that night, and I hear dogs barking, and then I hear some strange howling sounds. And then some of the dogs I thought were howling, but this was off in the distance, so the sounds are kind of merging together, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm hearing, but it's always a good sign when dogs are barking that you might be in the vicinity of the creatures. So I continued to get closer to them, and then everything stopped. So then I went to a tree, and I started doing some wood knockings. I'm trying to talk fast because we got a lot of stuff that we want to cover. And I'm doing wood knockings, and I've had a lot of success doing wood knockings and getting wood knockings back. And this night was no exception. I got wood knockings back, return knockings. After I did heard the return knockings, the dogs started barking again. So I started going in the direction of the dogs were barking and in the direction where the wood knockings were. And I got to a point where I was going up a little ridge, and then I hear this yelp, like a peacock yelp, like a bird. And I'm not even going to try to imitate it. I can't go up that high, and I wouldn't do it justice. And I got a decent recording of it. I'm hoping it'll come across on the phone. Want me to go ahead and cue that up to play that now, Billy?
Ready. Yep, we're all ready.
Okay. Now, this is like a 10-minute tape or so, but I'm at the spot where you should be able to hear it. I'm going to put the phone down by the TV, and I got the volume cranked up all the way. Now let's see what happens here. Did that come through?
I heard it.
Yeah,
okay.
I heard a high-pitched call, and then it sounded like dogs barking.
Yeah, and then dogs started barking. Okay.
Yep.
Now I'm going to take you to the next video or recording here, and I'll set the scene for this. Okay, so I'm getting closer to the hunters, and then I hear, and unfortunately I haven't been able to hear it yet on the recording, but I heard that Tasmanian devil type sound. I believe that the beagles had kind of cornered, one creature, when the hunters were there, and to the point where this thing started growling out. And Billy, can I make a fool of myself and imitate what I heard again?
You can do whatever you want, Dave.
All right, Billy.
This is your time on the show, so you do whatever you like.
All right, it sounded, and I'm a little bit nervous right now, so I don't know how well it's going to come out, but I'm going to give it a shot. If you've ever heard the Tasmanian devil, it probably sounds a lot more like that than what I'm going to try to do, but it's kind of like this. It was the eeriest sound that I heard it a few other times, but this time it was like close up, and it was, I believe, directly barking and growling at the dogs that were barking back at it. And then right after that, you hear those rhythmic wood knockings that I described earlier, and I caught that on the tape. You'll actually hear it. You'll hear the knock, 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 knock. And then you'll hear what I believe were the hunters talking or yelling out, do this, do that, or there it is, but you can't hear what they're saying, but you can hear what I believe are humans talking, and then followed by several gunfire. You'll hear the pop, 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 pop. So I'm just kind of letting you know what to listen for, because it's easy to miss it, and I don't know how well it's going to come across on the phone. Are we ready to go for the second part here?
Go right ahead.
All right. Actually, I got to move to the. Give me a second. Okay, I think I'm ready now. Okay, date is November 11th. I don't know why I'm saying 11th. November 7th, 2009. Time is 11:22. Actually, I got it fast forwarded here. It won't take long. Let me get my sheet here to see what the.
Now, what is it we're going to hear in this one?
I'm sorry?
What are we going to hear in this one?
We're going to hear, hopefully, we're going to hear we're going to keep continuing to hear the dogs bark. And there's going to be a couple places here where I say Bigfoot. And I do that a lot on my videos when I think I'm hearing Bigfoot sounds, whether they are or not. Because what I'm trying to do is actually mark the tape. Because these cameras are very good at picking up sounds within 5, 10, 15 feet, but beyond that, it's got to be loud. Right. And the things that I'm playing for you were extremely loud, and that's the reason why I was able to pick them up. But sometimes I expect, I'm going to pick this up, and I don't, and then I end up picking something else up that I didn't think I would. But you're going to hear dogs barking, and then I'll say Bigfoot. And then again, Bigfoot a couple times. That's markers for me telling me that's where I heard that Tasmanian devil-type growl. Then you're going to hear the wood knockings, and they actually come across on the recording. Stick-to-stick wood knockings, what I call the rhythmic wood knockings. And then you'll hopefully hear these guys talking, even though you won't be able to make out what they're saying. And then lastly, you'll hear several gunfire shots. And then everything's on the run. I'll pause it at that point. Everything takes off.
Okay.
All right. So I think I'm fairly close to the spot. Let's see. I might have overshot the first time I said Bigfoot, but you'll probably hear at least one Bigfoot from me. That's a marker for me to let me know that when I review the tape, right after I said the word Bigfoot, previous to that is where I heard the sound. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
All right. So I got through the whole segment that I was describing. I don't know what you're actually able to hear through the phone.
Well, I heard there at first what sounded like some white, some real faint. I don't know if that was wood knocking or what it was. Now at the end, I heard the guns that you were talking about.
Well, the wood knocking was actually right before the guns. It was pretty loud.
What I heard was. Of course, I mean, over the radio it sounded really faint.
Yeah.
Of course, I have a headset on too, so I may be able to hear it better than.
Well, I hope your listeners could hear some of that, and you did hear the gunshots, okay? And then
yes, I did hear the. Yeah, I heard
everything
the
was on the move after that, Billy, and I said to myself, "Self, you're going to go find these guys." So I went after them, and I got to where I was fairly close to them, and I was on a ridge, and they were down. In the valley that leads to the river, and I yelled out to him. I said, "Hey, is anybody out there?" And one of the guys reluctantly, I think, answered, and he was probably afraid that I might have a gun and shoot them. I don't know. And
right.
And he said, "Yeah." And then I said, and I probably should have just asked them what they were doing, but I said, are you out coon hunting? And he right away, yeah, we're out coon hunting. And then I said, did you get anything? Did you scare one up in a tree? It sounded like your dogs are spooked. You know, something on that line. I got it on a recording, but I won't waste the time playing that. And they didn't answer back. And then a few seconds later, they were on the move. They just all took off and ran. That's when I actually viewed them, with their lights on. And I saw at least 6 guys in a line, and they had hunting dogs, beagles, foxhounds, I don't know what. But I don't think that's how you coon hunt with a group like that. Tell me if I'm wrong.
But to be honest with you, I know very little about coon hunting. I do know that they use the coon dogs to chase a lot of times the coon up the tree.
Right.
A lot of times they shoot them right out of the tree. Mike may know a little bit more about it. So I'm a big deer hunter, so I didn't do any coon hunting or anything like that. Mike, do you know anything about that?
No, I can't say as I have. I've never been a hunter of anything, so.
And I've heard the same thing, Mike and Billy, that basically their goal is to chase up the tree. Once they get up in the tree, then basically one shot and the thing falls down, because they got it cornered. But there were several shots going off, and 6 guys out there shooting high-powered rifles at a coon. To me, something sounds fishy there, And I'll be honest with you, maybe I'm wrong, but I really believe that there are others that are out there in Central Virginia going some of the same places I'm going, and they're not out to video and catch recordings like I am. They're out to kill the thing.
Right. Well, and Helen just brought up a good point. They could have been poaching deer as well, because people will do that. Be out in an area where they're not supposed to be and poaching deer.
Yeah.
They will do that.
The area that they were at is there's legal hunting, so they're allowed to hunt, and they're allowed to hunt deer. Plus, again, you have to trust that what I'm saying, and I'm one that if I'm wrong, I'll admit it and I'll back off. But I'm telling you that I'm an honest man. I don't lie. I tell the truth. And what I heard out there was like a Tasmanian devil type of growling after I heard the peacock cry, and then I followed by wood knockings, stick-to-stick wood knockings, and the hunters weren't wood knocking. They were out to kill something. So that would be why I would say it wasn't the illegal deer poaching.
Right. Yeah, I think Bruce was making fun of me earlier about my deer hunting. All right, Bruce, shut up, okay? I used to deer hunt. I think the last time I went deer hunting was probably when I was 21 years old. But from the age of probably 8 years old until about 21, my grandfather's the one that really taught me how to hunt, and then of course my dad, and it was a family thing. We all went out and we hunted every year, and yeah, I do know that deer cannot be treed by dogs. So. If they can, I would love to see it. Somebody needs to send me a video of that. That would be hilarious.
It'd probably be pretty hard to chase one up in a tree too, I would think.
Yeah, I'd like to see that though. That would be pretty funny. Oh goodness! Is there any questions in there, Mike?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in there just when you said that. Yeah, we had some questions a while back.
Okay.
So, but I still have them here.
All right.
Let me scroll back up to the top here. Start at the top. We actually had 2 questions from Slam630 in the chat. First question was, has the guest had a sighting? And then he followed that up with another question, any exploration of, probably going to mispronounce this, but I'll give it a shot here, Chickahominy Swamp?
How many? I'm sorry?
I probably mispronounced it. It looks like Chickahominy. Chickahominy swamp.
Yeah, Chickahominy is down near Richmond.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Chickahominy.
Okay. All right, so I pronounced that correct.
Yeah.
All right. So he's asking basically, I guess, if you've checked out that area and
yes,
have you ever had a sighting?
I've checked out that area and surrounding areas in that locale. And the only thing I've found in that general area is some unusual. And I study plants. I'm a little bit into horticulture, so I study trees and know a little bit about trees, and I can ID things out in the fields and woods. And I found from time to time, unusual things in the woods that just not natural growth, and branches from two different trees twined together, large branches, and what did that? How did that happen? Things like that. Yes, I've had 3 sightings of 3 Bigfoot, and it was all on the same date, same time, and they were all 3 together. And I've been doing this for 2.5 years, but I didn't have my first sighting, these 3 creatures, until last February of 2009. That's when it was about a mile from my house. I was actually driving to an appointment, and I wasn't driving, my wife was, and my daughter was in the back seat, and I was in the passenger side window looking out the windows like I always do. My wife always tells me I look out the windows too much even when I'm driving instead of watching the road. So I'm looking out the passenger side window in this big field, which basically is part of a park system, and I see what I thought were 3 men backed by a big haystack. Those haystacks, I don't know what the technical term are those ones that they roll up in a ball, kind of a ball. What are those called, Billy?
Well, they're just straw rolls. They're wrapped usually in a netting or plastic.
Yeah, but these weren't wrapped. They were just rolled up in that semi-ball type design. And I saw 3 what I thought were men behind one of these. And as we're driving by, it's like everything's going in slow motion. I'm just intently watching these 3 men, and then I noticed that they were all wearing black. And I thought to myself, why are they all wearing black? And I actually saw, it was at a distance, so I couldn't see any facial features, or fingers, but I could see hands, and I saw, arms moving, and I thought, why are these 3 guys all wearing black? And then before I got out of range of being able to see it, I thought to myself, why? Not only are they all wearing black, but they're not wearing clothes, because they were black from head to toe. And I was kind of in a semi-state of shock, and it wasn't until we got about a quarter mile, half a mile down the road before I think I even said anything to my wife about it, or because I was still trying to process it myself, and I didn't have a camera with me in the car. I've learned since then that whenever I go out, take a camera with me all the time, especially at night. So I always have camera with me now, but I didn't then. And obviously, we were going to an appointment, and we were kind of, I think, even might have been late or rushing to get there on time. I went back there the next day and checked the area out, and one thing I noticed that the haystacks came to about their abdomen level, because I can only see, one of them was standing to the side, the other 2 were directly behind it, and I could see, by the ones that were directly behind it, how high the haystack came up to them, and right to their abdomen. And then I went up to it that next day, and it came up chest high on me. I'm 5'7". So I estimate that these things were 6'5", 7 feet tall by that. And then I checked the hillside there, and it was all riddled with rabbit holes. and one of the haystacks, you could see it was freshly pushed down the hill. It had to be spun sideways, pushed down the hill into a little swampy area. And I got all that on tape the next day and looked for footprints, couldn't find any. But at least I had in my mind an explanation why the Bigfoot would be over there, because of the fact that they were looking for rabbits. And it was right around sunset. So, I mean, it was getting around dusk. You could still see clearly, but it wasn't dark yet. But it was getting towards dark.
All right.
That was my only sighting, and I saw three of them together.
Let me do this real quick, Dave. I've had a caller holding on here very patiently, so I'm going to try to get them on here.
All right.
Caller from the 318 area code. You're on the air.
Hey, Bill.
Who's this?
This is Jay.
Hey, Jay, how you doing?
Good. I just wanted to kind of just verify what this man is saying. I mean, I've deer hunted with dogs since I was 5 years old. You don't do it in the evening time, okay? You start about 8 o'clock in the morning when it's good in daylight and everybody's on their stand. You cut it off around noon. I mean, that's what you should do. I mean, it just don't make no sense to run them at night because nobody's going to be on their stand.
Right.
This is 12 midnight.
I don't have any clue because I've never done any coon hunting. I have heard that people have coon hunted at night, which I'm
Yeah. You coon hunt at night with a .22 rifle. You don't do it with a high-powered rifle.
Right.
To me, these shots didn't. You probably couldn't hear it well on the recording over the phone, but they didn't sound like a .22. It sounded like.
Oh no, that was not 20. No, those were not 22s.
I'm hearing
recording.
I'm hearing boom, 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 boom. I'm fearing for my life at this point.
Definitely, you can tell the difference between a rifle shot. I mean, that's easy. I mean, that's the easy part. What they doing? Okay, you can, and I will say you can run fox or coyotes at night. If that's what they were doing. But they told you they were running coons. No.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If they were hunting fox, why didn't they tell me it was fox? They told me coon.
Right. I mean, I have a good lifelong friend. That's all he's done all his life is raise dogs to run fox. Right. I mean, that's all he's done. He loves it. He goes out, 5, 6 times a week, and that's all he does. But that's what he loves. I mean, I can't question the man. I mean, that's what he loves.
Right. Well, thank you for clearing that up, Jay.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, I'm just telling you, a man that has, for 38 years, or just constantly heard dogs run deer. You only do it during the daytime because that's where your hunters are at. There's no use you run them when nobody's there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
One thing I'd add to that, Billy, is that whether these guys wanted to claim they were fox hunting or coon hunting at 12 midnight, how do you explain what I heard? I heard Tasmanian devil type loud growling sound, and then these rhythmic wood knockings. How does that all tie into it? So, to me, I'm convinced that they're going after the creature.
Well, I don't know even with the fellas you're dealing with, but the man that I'm talking about won't even shoot them. He just likes to listen to his dogs run. He doesn't even shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know. But what you're talking about, they telling you they're running coons? No. No. Now we're walkers. No.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Jay. Appreciate it.
All right, Billy. Later.
Right. All right. There you go, Dave. There's a fellow.
How we doing time wise?
Hey, Billy.
Actually, we only got 20 minutes. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, we still have at least another question or two in the chat.
Okay.
All right, go right ahead.
This is a third one from Slam 630. He wanted to know, does the guest have a website?
No, I don't. I didn't even come forward until I met Billy in the last a week or two, Billy, and I invited him over to the property and showed him some things in the backwoods. But prior to that, I haven't done anything about coming forward with any of this information.
Okay. Well, I guess he was just curious if you had a website where he could, maybe listen to some of these sounds or see pictures of stuff or whatever.
I wouldn't, to be honest with you, right now I wouldn't have time to play with the website because I'm spending all my time still out there researching in the field. I go out, some weeks I go out every night, Other weeks I'll go out at least 2 or 3 times. We had a tropical, remnants of a tropical system that moved up the East Coast this last week, remnants of Ida. And before the storm it rained for 3 days straight. From Richmond, Fredericksburg, east to Virginia Beach, we got lots of rain. But I went out on the final day of the storm and walked in the daytime through some areas looking for tracks and trying to see if anything would be out there in the rain. So, and then last Monday, after the last Monday show, which I listened to on the air, I went out and for several hours back there, and then just the day after the storm, I did an overnight vigil. I went out and parked and walked for 20 minutes, made a campfire, and stayed out there until sunrise. And I didn't sleep and eat marshmallows. I stayed in one of them little folding chairs, and kept the fire going, had my camera on my side, and every time I heard some sounds, I'd turn it on, and stayed there until the sun came up. So, I put in my time.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's good. That's what you have to do sometimes.
Mm.
All right, we got a few more questions.
Any more questions? Go ahead.
Yep, we still do. We have a question from Spin Dave. He says, do you believe these animals can be lured to a specific spot by a bait of some kind?
Well, I got mixed feelings on that. I think there's my guess, and that's all it is, I guess, is a guess that they're smart enough to know. First of all, I don't believe that they're carnivores or herbivores. I think they're omnivores, and they're, they eat meat, they'll go after, deer or fish or whatever they can catch. And I also believe, that they eat acorns and berries, and things that bear would eat. And then I think they're opportunistic, and smart enough to know that, hey, if they get an area where there's water sources, farmers' fields, they can, eat the corn and the soybeans and other things that are seasonal. And that would be that's a hint. What I do too is I'll go in areas where I know there's farmers' fields, and when the stuff starts to ripen, I'll stake out those areas, and I've had some success doing that. But to actually bait them, I've never really tried it, but I don't think it would be all that successful to, put a bag of corn out or some meat out when I think that these things are pretty capable of, getting their own stuff without having to get too close to humans.
Okay, fair enough. We have another question here from D.L. Susi, and the question is, are there any bear where the guest was? I guess he or she is asking, I guess, specifically where you recorded these sounds, I guess? Are there bear in the area?
Oh, yeah. Like I said earlier, I've found 3 questionable Bigfoot casts made, but I'm not convinced 100% that any of them are Bigfoot. One of them more than the others. But I've seen lots of black bear tracks out in the mud, So the question then would come up is, by some of the listeners is, well, why don't we see a lot of the Bigfoot tracks? Well, maybe they're smarter than the bear. Maybe they avoid the muddy areas and go and. Plus, they don't walk the trails like, we walk the trails. They walk right through the woods, and, with leaf litter and sticks and everything, it's hard to leave tracks. But people have found tracks in the area down in the, wetlands. I just haven't had any success yet. I'm still waiting for the time when I can get that clear track. Another thing, can I throw one more thing out, Billy? On the track?
We do have Real quick, how many questions do you have left, Mike?
I was just scrolling down to the bottom. I don't see any more after the last one that I just asked.
Okay, because I've got one caller on hold.
Okay.
Do you want to get the caller first, real quick?
However you want to do it.
All right, let's do that, Dave, because I don't know if this is costing them anything or not. I believe this is another Skype caller. You're on the air.
Hey there, guys.
That sounds like the Creature Seeker.
It is the Creature Seeker, and it is.
We don't have any steak laying around anywhere with the A1 sauce.
Well, Billy, maybe you can treat some more deer. We can get some venison steak.
Treat some deer, God.
I'm not. It's not costing me anything more than it usually costs me, which is like an hour and a half of my life, which I usually want back by the end of the show.
See, he's always got to cut my show. You know. Why you always got to cut on my show? All right.
Fun, Billy.
All right, Bruce, do you have a question for our guest?
No, I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to sort of put in my 2 cents. The last caller said that, you go coon hunting during the day, and that, and I'm not saying that people don't. I'm sure there are people out there who do, but raccoon are mostly nocturnal animals, so they don't, you usually don't see them during the day. They're usually out and about at night, and that's why you go coon hunting at night with the dogs. And so, I just want to put that out there that, when, my friends have gone coon hunting, it's always been at night because that's when they're out. So,
okay.
And I just want to make a comment. Go ahead.
Obviously, Bruce, that's what I said earlier. I've always heard people say that people coon hunt at night. I've always heard that, and I've always thought that. But like I say, I've never done it before, so I do know that I used to have a lot of raccoons that would come up, place where we lived at, they would come up and eat the cat food, and of course, they would do it at night.
Yep.
They would come up and just get the cat food out of the bowl and they'd just sit there and, sit up and play with it with their hands and eat it, and that was usually at nighttime, so I don't know.
Yeah, they're usually, Billy, they're usually out at night, that's why.
And let me ask you this, do they usually chase them up into a tree with their dogs?
Yes, they usually do, actually.
Yeah, and then you wouldn't think that would require several shots to take the animal down out of the tree once it's cornered up there.
Well, it depends.
One good shot.
A lot of times, the thing is with raccoons, sometimes even though they're treed, you can't get a good shot at them because of the branches, and they like to hide in the sort of the crotch of the tree. So if you're a bad hunter, you're probably going to take a lot of shots at the animal, unfortunately.
All right.
So that's not unusual. It's not like It's not like you could see a raccoon bounding, in the middle of an open field, like 100-yard clean shot. It's not like that.
Right.
A lot of times the animal's scurrying up the tree in the dark, and you're trying to get a bead on it with a spotlight, and you got the dogs barking. So it's not as clean as you would like it to be, unfortunately.
All right, so I can see that's plausible. The only areas that I can't reconcile, again, are the wood knockings and the growlings that I heard, and I definitely heard those. I picked up the wood knockings on the recording.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know. The wood knockings themselves, they seem kind of. The wood knockings I've heard in the past, my experience has been that they've been very loud and very deep. For example, a lot of force. Very large objects being knocked together.
Right. I hear those all the time too, and I was describing the fact that I've heard two different kinds of wood knockings. One's in a distance where they're trying to locate each other, and then when they're close by to each other, they do the stick-to-stick wood knocking that I call rhythmic wood knocking.
Yeah, I've not. My experience, I haven't. What you talked about and what you sort of tried to imitate sounded more like someone playing the Warner Brothers theme on a snare drum. That's not been my experience,
Uh-huh. Yeah, I haven't had it happen a lot, but several times.
And that scream, that lone scream that you played for us,
right?
That sounded like a bird. And I was going to say either a loon. Some people said a peacock, and so you say, okay, well, peacocks aren't native, But where I grew up, there was a dairy farm down the road from me, and they actually had a pet peacock, and you'd hear this thing, and if you weren't, if you didn't know that peacock was around, you'd say, "Oh my God, that sounded really ungodly,"
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that there, peacocks are around. I just found out bamboo grows in Virginia. Apparently, I never knew that.
Well, bamboo is a plant that it's a southern plant, and you'll find it from central Virginia south. There's some hardy varieties you'll even find up in Maryland, but yeah, up north you won't see it. Once you stick it in the ground, if it can handle the winters, it'll spread.
Well, I can tell you guys. I know somebody here on Long Island that likes bamboo and has it growing in their backyard.
Oh yeah, that's along the coast. You can grow it pretty far up north.
Yeah,
but Mike, they planted it there, right? It's not. It's
not native.
I would imagine.
No,
I would imagine they planted it, but I'm saying it physically grows.
Oh sure, yeah. There's some gardens out even here out in New England where they have bamboo growing, and the bamboo is pretty hardy and lasts through the winter actually. And if out in Asia, there are actually some species of bamboo that thrive in the colder climates up in the higher elevations. So that's not uncommon, but just to kind of walk around in the Appalachians and come upon a bamboo grove is a little bit peculiar.
Yeah. Well, guys, you ain't gonna believe it, but we got 2 other callers on hold.
And Billy, just to let you know, we had one other question in the chat as well, just to let you know.
It's a busy night. You're getting people's attention here, Dave. They're wanting to ask questions.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It could be both, You want to hold on, Bruce, while I grab this other call?
Sure thing.
Caller from 318 area code. You're on the air.
Hey, Billy.
Is this Jay?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Jay.
I didn't want to. I'm not going to say that it was that the dogs are definitely for that. What I was saying is you don't bring in a definite hound on this species that wasn't. Let me start over. You don't bring in walkers on coons, correct?
I don't know. I'm leaning for you all on that because I'm not the expert on coon hunting.
Well, your boy that was watching it knows that there was walkers on what he was watching.
Now, when you say walkers, you talking about the fact that there were 6 guys out there, or what does that term walkers mean?
No, you said there was walkers. I thought you were talking about the type of hounds that were there.
Oh, I don't know for sure if they were beagles or foxhounds. I didn't get a clear look at the dogs.
No, Dave. What Jay's saying is there's actually a hound called a walker hound. And
okay.
He thinks that he thinks that you said you actually saw that you identified those hounds as walker hounds.
I don't know what breed they were.
I'm
just guessing beagles, but I don't know.
Oh, I apologize.
Oh, no problem.
No problem. All right, thank you, Jay.
That's what I was getting at. I mean, if he was going to bring in, some different type of hounds, because he said there was 6 hunters. Okay. All right.
Six men, but I don't know how many dogs. I didn't see for sure how many dogs.
Yeah. I thought you had said there were hawker hounds.
No. I'm sorry. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
No problem.
It's all right.
Okay. All right.
Thanks. All right, let me grab this other one here. This switchboard is really acting up. I got to click it twice. 404, you're on the air.
Hey, Billy, it's Midnight Walker. How are you?
Hey, good.
Are you a walker hound?
I don't know. Hell, I don't even know if I was out there hunting that night. It's like everybody was. Real quick comment though for you. On the knocks. I mean, I think we all know that they do different knocks. So, that being said, a lot of what Dave said, I concur with. Even the peacock sound, I've heard that out there. But what I wanted to ask Dave is, when you're out there all those hours, I mean, are these guys coming around you? I mean, what are you? Is your objective just to simply click your recorder on when they make a noise? Are you trying to communicate with them, or what is it you're trying to do? And do you get the sense that the same guys are coming around?
Well, the vast majority,
different guys.
Yeah, the vast majority of times I'm out there, there's no one out there with me. And now on weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, Friday nights.
Well, when I say guys, I'm talking about the what you termed as Bigfoot.
The creature.
Call them guys.
The Bigfoot creature.
That's a better term. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to do. I'm still trying to figure that out myself, I guess. My wife thinks I'm wasting way too much time, but I'm trying to. I guess for me, it's I've always had a curiosity in things that go bang in the night and unexplained and mysteries and these types of things. So I've gone down a lot of these different avenues. I don't seek out ghosts, but I believe that I've had some experiences while I've been out there.
But are they coming in close? Or they poking at you? I mean, I've had instances where I've been in my chair and I felt a poke, and I turn around and I don't see anything, but I certainly felt something. I mean, stuff like that. Are you having those kinds of incidents?
I've had times where I've heard loud noises close by, and then I question myself: was that a deer? Was that a bear? Or was that Bigfoot? And then there's other times where I heard, heavy bipedal feet, and I knew that was Bigfoot. In my mind, I was convinced. And then there was one time where I got on tape, and I was trying to hunt it down for tonight, didn't pull it up, but I actually captured the Bigfoot making a yelp sound, and he was wood knocking, and I heard the loud heavy foot feet as well. So there's been times when I had an eerie feeling like something's watching me, and only one time I had this feeling come over me like, and Billy talked to me about this when we met, a feeling of like paranoia. This happened to me actually a few nights ago when I was out there with the fire, and it wasn't until an hour and a half before the sun came up that it hit me, and I was scared. I felt paranoia. I felt dizzy, lightheaded, slight headache, and I was up walking around, and I decided, hey, I'm going to sit down, in case I fainted or whatever. And so I've had different feelings. If that's what you're going for there, but do they seek me out or do I seek them out? I'm trying to seek them out, but I have a feeling that they typically find me more often than I find them. There's been a few times where I think I snuck up on them.
That's the way it happens anyway. I mean, they'll either choose to find you or not. It's not going to be the other way around.
I kind of have lured them in a few times, I think, with wood knockings. Vast majority of times I do wood knockings, I don't get anything back in return. Quite a few times I have. But those nights when I do the wood knockings, many times, an hour, 2 hours later, then I start hearing the cows moo, the dogs bark, and then after that, I start getting these bird monkey sounds. So, does a wood knocking lure them in? I don't know.
Well, you need to
just so that everybody knows real quick, we're getting ready to go into archives. We're going to lose our live feed, but we can continue this. So everybody in the chat room that's asked questions for Mike will ask those questions, and you can listen to the archives for the answer. And I just want to say, before we go off live, I just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, as always. And next Monday night, we're going to have a lady by the name of Shannon Wallace of New York on the show. She lives in Long Island there with Mike Killen. And she has written a novel called The Farm, and she's incorporated a lot of her Bigfoot in that book. So we're going to have her on the show next Monday night at 9 p.m., so tune in for that. Okay, you guys can continue.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what else I was saying. I was just kidding around. I think you need to take JC out there, but I'm sure he would appreciate that after that. Anyway, but... No, Dave, what I was going to tell you is you're probably going to have a bunch of guys knocking your woods for the next 3 or 4 weeks. It happened to me after I did the show, and you just need to let it go. They won't get anywhere with the biggies out there, and they'll eventually just go away, get frustrated. But just be ready, because that's probably going to happen based on what I heard in the chat room.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't get frustrated with it.
That's one of the reasons I don't like to disclose my last name and location.
Yeah, well, Billy, I was out at one of my locations, and I heard some guys knocking, and Dave, and it was funny because I was just kind of kicking back down, staying hidden, just really out there just to listen to nature. And these guys were out wood knocking the ridge, and they're a pretty good distance away, and all of a sudden I hear something just bum rushing through all the brush, just tearing crap up. It stops like about 30, 40 feet up above me, and it's funny. They're looking for this thing, and it comes out right above my head. Apparently it was pissed at them because, they were knocking, but I didn't see it. It was in the brush, but, that's the kind of stuff that happens. So, they'll end up finding you, and it's not the other way around.
All right.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in.
Okay, take care.
Mike, I'll let you go ahead and get to your questions there. People, hopefully they'll tune into the archive so that they can hear the answers.
Okay, yeah, we had at least another 3, maybe 4 questions. Let me scroll back up here.
And then when you get done, I've got questions that were emailed to me.
Okay, lots of questions tonight.
I've got lots of time if you guys do.
I know, it's amazing. It's like people are actually paying attention to the show.
Hey, that's good.
All right, what happened now? I lost my place. Where is it?
So we're off the air now, huh?
Yeah, we're off the air, but people can still listen to it on the archive.
Right. I can let my hair down now.
Well, it's still
you tell it like it really is.
It's still
they can still hear.
Yeah, I'm joking. Not that I didn't let my hair down already, right?
Okay.
Dave, part of the problem with wood knocking is that, we kind of pretty much assume that wood knocking is done by some sort of Bigfoot creature, but, I mean, there's no proof of that,
Yeah, that's something that really can't be proved.
Yeah, it can't be proved. So, all right, so I heard some knock in the woods. I mean, it could be anything, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first time I heard it, I actually thought it was some type of bird chirping. And the first wood knockings I heard were not the what I call the rhythmic stick to stick. It was a stick or a log against a big oak tree. Loud, heavy sound. And but to me, I was far enough away. I thought, what kind of animal is making that bird chirp sound? And I was even saying on my recording, I'm hearing some kind of bird chirps, and, why would it be happening at this hour of the night, And then on that same night, that's when I heard the first time that what I describe as like a gibberish language. It sounded like 3 teenage girls down there talking to each other. And then I kept walking and came back a couple hours or so later. I got logged down my times and everything, but somewhere around 2 hours, 3 hours later. And I hear them again. I say, it can't be girls, And then I heard some more wood knockings, and then at that point in time, I started putting two and two together. Hey, these are wood knockings, and at the time on the tape I was calling them wood rappings because I didn't even know the proper term. And then I realized that, hey, I think this is Bigfoot talking, and I've since heard other people say they've heard the same thing, but at the time I thought it sounded crazy to attribute Bigfoot with a language, but that's what it seemed like to me.
Well, Dave, the interesting thing about that is that I actually attended a presentation given by this guy, Scott Nelson. Is that right, Billy?
Yeah, Scott Nelson.
And he also believes that these creatures communicate with some sort of very primitive language.
Mm-hmm.
And what you mimicked sounded a lot like, I don't know if, Billy, you were there as well. Would you agree that what Dave mimicked sounded very similar to what Scott Nelson had mimicked it.
I do agree with that. Yes.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
So it's just interesting that this other guy, Scott Nelson. Now, Scott Nelson is a trained linguist with the Navy, I think it was. And so he actually listens to these recordings, which he thinks, are Bigfoot communicating, and actually was able to, using his skills as a linguist, try to decipher exactly, what they were saying to each other.
Right.
And who knows? But it was just an interesting exercise.
Yeah, I guess if you get enough of them, you could start to break it down a little bit and at least maybe get a sense of what they were trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
I know in my particular case, the first time I heard it, and I've heard it many times since, and recorded it at least 3 or 4 times, this gibberish language at a distance. I don't have any real loud, clear ones, but but you can hear it. What I noticed that first day was I heard the 3 teenage girls doing this gibberish language, and then I also heard in the background an animal whimpering, like a deer, like whimpering, and then I started thinking maybe this is like a celebration night, and they caught a couple, 2 or 3 deer and broke their legs, and they're waiting till they call everybody in for the feast, and then they're going to eat them, because on that same night and this is when I really realized that, hey, this isn't a bird chirping, this is wood knockings, because I heard loud ones fairly close when I got to this one region, and then I heard 4, and I did 4 knocks against a tree, and then I heard 3, and I did 3, and it went 2, 1, and at the same time that we're exchanging wood knocks, and unfortunately I didn't tape this because at the time I was thinking I'm going to wait till I see the whites of their eyes before I turn the camera on, and I did a dumb thing. I could, because it was loud enough I would have got all that, but I didn't turn the camera on. But while I was hearing the 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm exchanging it with this other creature, I think I'm hearing another creature running through the woods, banging against trees, and it's getting louder and louder and closer to me. So I think there were at least 3 doing the gibberish language. There might have been 2, but I think 3. And then at the same time, I'm hearing that 4, 3, 2, 1 that I'm exchanging with, so that's a 4th creature. And then a 5th creature running towards me from another direction, banging against trees. And then there was one more creature I heard all night long. It just did a steady wood knock against a tree all night long, like I don't know, like come for dinner, and it just went all night long. It didn't stop.
Hey, Dave.
All
right. I found my place here. We got some questions for you.
Okay.
I actually did a few minutes ago, but then you and Bruce were engrossed in the conversation, so I figured I'd let you go.
Yeah, we're probably holding up poor Mike.
Sorry about that, Mike.
I missed my window, Billy. It was a very narrow window, and
sorry, Mike. I'm going to make it. I'll make my responses short.
I couldn't find the question I wanted at the top right away, and the next thing you know, Bruce just takes over and starts, talking a mile a minute there. So
sorry.
Once I get started, I don't stop either.
Okay. First question from the top here we had from VABF Watcher. And he said he wants to know if Dave has done any research in the Pocahontas State Park.
Yes, I have. I didn't hear anything, didn't find any prints, but I've been there and found some interesting trees, branches twined together, and trees falling down, and could have been natural. We had a Hurricane Isabel come through Central Virginia in 2003. It took a lot of trees down. On my property, I know what came down with the hurricane. I know what's come down since. So, but when I go to these other parks, I don't know, what came down with the hurricane. But found some interesting things there.
Okay. Then we had West Kentucky Bigfoot, West KY Bigfoot, says, did you see Bigfoot make the sound?
No. The only time I saw Bigfoot was when I saw 3 of them together, and they weren't making any sounds, and I was far, if they made a sound, I would have heard them. But when I've been out there in the field at night, I hear sounds, but I don't see anything. I can hear them running through the woods. I can hear the vocalizations. If I had a decent night vision camera and decent microphone equipment, some equipment out there, I'd like to say that I guarantee we'll get some pictures and sound, because I have a pretty good success rate going out there and hearing things, you know. So I don't have the equipment to do much with it.
Right. Okay. Then this really isn't a question. This is more like a request. I don't know if at this stage in the game if it's possible, but Slam 630 was asking and typed it in caps as if it was a question. It says, please play more recordings, but I don't know that we're going to get to that at this stage. But
I had tons of them queued up, but
I tell you, the 90 minutes flies by too. So
yeah, I probably should have done less talking and more. But I like to, you know, at least give some kind of explanation of what's going on, or for the listener to know what to listen for and what I'm claiming is Bigfoot.
Right.
Yeah, Billy's right. The 90 minutes flies by, unless, of course, you're actually listening to the show, in which case you're...
Oh, go lay down, Bruce. Go eat your 32-ounce steak.
All right. We got another question here from Spin Dave. He says, whenever you hear these sounds, whether they are voice or wood knocking, does it sound like they're coming from a position above you?
Little of both. I've been up on ridges and heard them in the valley. I've been down in the valley and heard them on the ridges. I have gone back to some of these locations where I've heard yelps and wood knocks, and when I've been up close to them, you know, within, let's say, 1,000 yards or less, and that's happened many times. I've gone back into several locations that I call hot spots, and I found markings up on trees, because I've done wood knocks myself, and I know if you hit a hickory tree or an oak tree, what kind of mark this thing leaves. I found those marks on the trees that I didn't make, and then I found the ground all flattened out, and, you know, usually under like an oak tree where all the acorns are gone, and a trail leading in and trail leading out where the thing's been running around. And also I find claw mark or tooth marks on trees, and some trees that are, you know, 4-inch diameter, like chewed in half. And it's not a beaver type of chewing; it's something different, you know, with big holes gouged into it. So, yeah, I think I've heard them above me and below me, and when I've been close enough to it, I've gone back to location and actually looked and found what I think is evidence that they were there.
All right.
Is that all of them?
That was all the questions that I can see, yep. And like I said, the one question was more like a request, but I just wanted to mention to Dave, you know, you mentioned about the wood knocking and stuff. You know, if you ever have the experience, I don't know, I was going to say misfortune, but I'll be kind. If he ever has the experience to get out in the woods with our friend here, Bruce, Creature Seeker, and you hear some wood knocking, don't be too excited, because, you know, it's been said that sometimes Bruce will tap out some Morse code to order out takeout and have it delivered to the trailhead. So
is he one of the big eaters that goes to these camp out events that you guys have every now and then?
No.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Oh yeah. We go up to these camp outs, and I mean we're buying like $200 or $300 worth of food from the grocery store. You'd think we were going to stay for 2 weeks or something. I mean,
we have to keep prepared. You have to keep prepared for that, you know.
Hey, I like to have fun too, but you know, I want to try to get us to go out there and really do some deep searching and looking and recording and maybe a little bit. I need to lose some weight, a little bit less eating and having snoring contests, you know.
What fun is that?
Uh-oh, you're breaking up, Bruce. It's that darn Skype. That darn Skype. Let me grab these questions that I was emailed earlier. I got an email from, let's see here. I got an email from Mark. His question is, question for Dave. Dave, are you recording results randomly, or is there a pattern to them? In other words, he says, by pattern, I mean, which time of the year do you have the most interesting recordings? Winter, spring, summer, or fall, if there's a pattern? That's a good question.
He wants to know some of my trade secrets that I'm still developing. No, in my journals, seriously, and in my recordings, I won't put down. I used to in the early days. I used to do it, but I don't anymore. Well, I'm always in Virginia, but the county or the city, I won't list that, or the park system, or if I'm in a park system, I won't list that in the location, but I'll list a trail name, and these trail names are just fictitious names that I came up with to describe where I'm at. And after I go down them a few times, I'll say this is the perimeter trail, this is the bridge trail, the woods trail, the river woods trail. I have different names for trails, and trails could be a dirt road, they could be a path along a stream, it could be a meadow, and I'll list them like that on my recordings, and then I'll also list the time and date, and then the phase of the moon, the weather conditions, the temperature, the wind, and I'm gradually getting some data over the 2.5 years now. And the longer I do this, and I suggest all your listeners do that whenever they go out, keep a record, either on voice recordings or some kind of paper, electronic log, and as much data as you can pertinent to where you were at and when you were at that location, so that in time you can develop some kind of database that might indicate that these creatures are moving from place to place at certain times, or more prevalent in certain areas at certain times. And I'm starting to discover that, but I'd be hesitant to say I know for sure until I keep the records going a little bit longer.
Right. Okay. That's fine. Now I'm gonna do something. I wish I could have done this during the live show, but this will be a little treat for anyone who's listening to the archive later. So whoever's still on the line here with us, this is an audio, and they knew we were going to do some audio tonight, and this is the reason this particular fellow sent me this audio to share with everyone to kind of get some ideas. So he says I can use his name, but the location will remain unknown. His name is Larry Surface. He sent me this audio clip that he wanted me to play. So we will play it and see what everybody thinks here that's in the room right now. So here we go. Did everybody hear that, or do I need to turn it up?
I just heard background static. What sounded like background static?
I heard a little something, but yeah, if you could crank that up more, yeah, that would be better.
All right, I'll crank it up by twofold, see what we get. Does anybody hear it?
I still had trouble with that one.
Yeah,
maybe if I could hear it off the machine instead of across the phone.
Yeah,
let me try it one more time.
Go up 4 dB this time.
You can hear sort of I don't know how to describe it, but it's like the way he describes it when he sent me the email is that where did it go? He wrote me an email here. He said that since tonight's show's on audio recordings, you can see if any of the sounds are like this one. Now, I don't know if you heard it or not, Dave. It was kind of like, it almost sounds like something muttering or making a muttering type sound.
Unfortunately, I didn't hear it, but I do hear those noises out there. It sound like a combination of a bird, a monkey, and a Tasmanian devil, combined, and whooping sounds like whoop, 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 things like that. Right. I do hear weird sounds.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think we had some fun tonight. Let's see here. Mike, I'm sorry I held you over. I hope it didn't cause any problems.
No, not at all.
Sorry, Mike.
Okay. Bruce, thank you for calling in, as always. Just keep the A1 sauce by your side at all times.
Great show, guys.
Oh, gosh. And Dave, thanks for being on the show tonight. We actually had quite a few people listening in, so you drew a crowd.
I stirred things up.
You stirred things up. People wanted to hear what you had, so that's always good. And thanks for being on the show. We appreciate it.
All right.
And Mike, thank you for being a wonderful co-host as always, and getting those questions out to me from the chat, because I can't keep up with it.
Yeah, my pleasure, Billy. Anything I can do to help you? I know when you're chatting with the guests and stuff, it's hard to keep an eye on everything that's scrolling by, especially sometimes the chat just starts really ripping past. So it is tough when you're trying to hold a conversation and pay attention to chat at the same time. So I'm here to help you out any way I can.
Hey, Mike,
Yep.
Can I ask you a quick question about the chat?
Sure.
Before you leave, does that, after it scrolls a certain distance, does it do the old lines disappear and you lose them?
It does unless you hit the stop scroll control. There's a stop scrolling control,
okay.
but I don't know that that's infinite. I mean, it does back up a lot more. You know.
The sizzle of McDonald's sausage. It's enough to make you crave your favorite breakfasts. Enough to head over to McDonald's. Enough to make you really wish this commercial were scratch and sniff.
And if you're a sausage person, now get 2 satisfyingly savory sausage McGriddles, sausage biscuits, or sausage burritos for just $3.33. Or mix and match. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.